There are homeowners that unfortunately are walking away from their homes because they can't afford to fight the squatter anymore. They can't afford to pay their mortgage anymore. To pay the mortgage, the utilities, the insurance, all of that for a squatter, they're weighing it and saying, okay, what's my home worth? What's my equity? How much money do I have to put into this? And when that's all exhausted, because those squatters have an attorney that's main job and only job is to extend the process until you can't afford it anymore. And at that point, they're going to try to get you money out of you. They're literally going to a homeowner and say, pay us $20,000 and I'll get my squatter out.
Do you have any examples of this and any stories that this has happened to somebody you know?
Yeah, I have. I don't have a specific story of somebody that's worked with me that's lost their home. That has not happened. These are stories of people that have shared testimonials with me, that have commented on my YouTube and talked about their process and saying to me, I wish I would have met you a year ago. Wish I would have met you 3 years ago. They're stories that are just heartbreaking when you hear these things. People talking about how a squatter took advantage of their elderly mom before she passed away, and then they lost the house because after she passed away, there was already a squatter that had set up, they had already set it up to get the house. The story that I shared earlier with the caregiver, she was lining everything up to take the house when the 88-year-old woman passed away. She had taken all of the documents for the house. She had taken everything. She was signing things. She had taken over her bank accounts. Wow. She withdrew all of her money. It was said that she had $130,000 in her bank, and the old lady had no money, no resources, couldn't do anything. I had to go in. We had to raise money on GoFundMe, and I had to go in and do things for free for her because she couldn't afford it.
And how did you deal with that?
So we ended up, in one of my videos, you see me, I call her crazy squatter caught in the dark, and she was climbing in and out of a window. And, with her, it ended up having to go because she refused to leave. She was she was literally barricaded into a bedroom. We removed her power, we removed her bathroom, we removed everything. And this woman didn't care about her lifestyle because she was determined to get that house when the old lady passed away. With her, it took civil process and it took social services getting involved, and eventually law enforcement got involved. And, and they're building a criminal case against her as well because, she stole items, and and items were, removed from the home. So there was a lot more involved than just a squatter situation.
Now, what are the laws that allow this? Can you explain to us how it works?
There is no actual squatter law or squatter right. And people out of California will say, oh, of course, California, it's got, squatters have rights. But the truth is, tenants have rights. And I think that's also a misconception from tenants. A lot of tenants are against what I'm doing because they don't understand that if I get the laws changed, it's not going to affect tenant rights. What I want to do is clear the lines between tenants and squatters. Right now they're blurred. Right now squatters are taking advantage of the fact that California is a very tenant-friendly state. So tenants, for example, have to be served process. You have to go to civil court. They do not have to leave until a judge tells them this is the date you have to leave. A tenant is allowed to defend themselves. They're allowed to produce evidence of why they shouldn't be evicted. They've been paying rent. They had a lease. They had a legal contract.
Which are good things for tenants.
Which are good things for tenants. We
need to have these to protect
right?
the tenants.
Exactly. A squatter can come up with a fake lease, or even in California, just say they have a lease because, they can say, well, sometimes people have verbal leases, okay? And, so that gives them in the law's eyes. And so a police officer that comes out and responds to a homeowner calling about a squatter says, I live here, says, I have a lease. I have a verbal lease. I have a whatever, right? They just have to create some sort of doubt that that officer in California is not allowed to differentiate. They're not allowed to. So once they are told that they live there, then it's a civil matter because that's what they're trained to say. So being that squatters are taking tenant rights, instead of there being an absolute law saying that you have to pay rent to be a tenant. Okay.
And you have to have a real lease.
And
with
you have
the
to have a
landlord.
real lease. Maybe a lease should be notarized.
And you're not allowed to break in.
Yeah. So how did you gain entrance? There needs to be a clear law that says you have to, even something that would protect a homeowner from somebody that signs a lease with the intent to become a squatter. There are a lot of tenant/squatters that literally go through the process, fill out a lease, pay a first month, and then never make another payment again. And they've now gained every single right that a tenant has.
We're covering California issues, as you know. If you want us to cover the stories that are impacting your day-to-day life in California, reach out to me at siamak@californiainsider.com.
So they can stay there for another year or few months.
Yeah, it could be, and who knows, maybe it's, 4 or 5 months before they even, before the process even starts.
Now, who are these people? The characters you see, does it have to do with people that are homeless or face poverty, or is it just people that are...
What I see mostly, and when we're talking squatters, when I mention the word squatter, by definition, they are not homeless, okay? And from what I've seen, by character, they are not homeless. Homeless people, as I've said in one of my videos, have more pride than squatters. Homeless people will live in a park. They will live on the beach. They will live in a cardboard box, in a tent, right? They will live on the street before they will break into your home. Now, I'm not saying no squatter is homeless. What I'm saying is that most squatters that I run across, they are entitled, they take advantage of a system, they can sleep at night knowing that they are doing harm to others. They are narcissistic, they are, you can watch a couple of my videos where I've literally done an intervention and you can hear their personality. And they consider themselves a victim and that society owes them. Homeless people, when I go out and I talk to them, you know what? They are just so thankful for whatever they get. And some people don't even consider themselves homeless. I've had homeless people tell me, I'm not homeless, I'm just living off the grid, okay? So, homeless, we've got mental health stuff, we've got drug stuff, homeless is just a completely different category. And I think classifying a homeless person as a squatter is an insult to them. I think that, let's just separate the two and let's treat squatters like squatters and let's help homeless the way they need to be helped.